All right. I just want to say, for the record, start things off. I would definitely beat you in a secret scrimmage. So just because it'd be
But
secret, I'd get the news out there first.
yeah. So
Somebody
if you
would tweet it.
break,
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
yeah, that's like the only way.
yeah.
But it's
Well,
cool.
yeah, I have a
Just like I would
ability.
just like I would 6-0 you in a set.
Wow. You want to start with tennis?
We can.
No. Let's
Tiafo lost,
uh,
shockingly.
yeah. He's great at
Losing.
best tennis center.
Dude, I don't think he's won a
Unbelievable.
match. I
Yeah.
don't think he's won a match since the US Open. Like maybe he's won like maybe one.
Well, this
Straight.
happened a couple of years ago too, when he made that deal. So yeah. Okay. Well, we're friends right now, but tomorrow is going to be war. I need your honest prediction, unbiased prediction for the World Series.
Hell on. Respectfully, Yankees in six because of pitching. If you guys had starters, I would say you guys in 6 or 7. But I think our starters are better. Our bullpen is better. I would give you guys a slight edge in the lineup, especially at the bottom.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think we had I mean, Cole, Rodon, Heel, Schmidt. I think I like better than Flaherty, Yoshi, and Walker.
And
That would be yeah, and bullpen. And I mean your bullpen games have been great. So I wouldn't even not say that
also
you
it's
have
a
a dance in
crapshoot, like a
Yeah.
open game is fantastic when it works, but when it doesn't, it unravels quick. And it
Yeah.
almost game six. I mean, we started Kopech for some reason, but trust the process, I guess. Shut out Philly. Yeah, I think that's kind of an issue. I'm gonna go Dodgers in 4, unbiased, of course.
Nah. So I have to give my unbiased
But
opinion.
here's my thing. The longer the series goes for the Dodgers, the more in trouble we're going to be because of the pitching situation. Because game 1 is Flaherty, which means game 5 is Flaherty, and game 2 is Yamamoto, game 6 is Yamamoto. It spaces out perfectly so that he gets a full rest based on the schedule they used over in Japan, that 6-day schedule. And then 3 and 7 would be Bueller. So game 4 is bullpen. Bullpens are spooky, but I'm glad we only have to use them one time. 2 bullpen games in a series against the Mets was terrifying. Because every time that door swings open, you never know what's going to happen. And
Dude, that one game, you guys didn't have a strikeout. Like no pitcher had a strikeout.
not a
That's
single
wild.
strikeout. And like
I've never
50
seen,
guys came to the plate.
yeah, I never seen that.
That was insane. Okay.
But hoops.
Yeah, hoops. It's almost time. Oh my gosh. See, everyone is talking about this election and down the days to the election. But if you subtract one less day from the election countdown, that's hoops tip off.
Yeah, that's what really matters.
Yeah.
I'm casting my vote for Will Wade for president.
Wow. Anti Eric Anderson. What?
Nah.
I mean, that's going to be a fun one. McNeese State, just outside of the top 25 right now. But yeah, I just start with that. Are they the best team in Louisiana?
College basketball wise, yeah. I mean LSU.
Well, NBA too. I don't know.
Well, the Pelicans did win last night without Zion, and DeJounte Murray broke his hand. But they're definitely in the discussion. They are, dude. They're so good. For as good as they were last year, they could be even better this year because they brought back. Not brought back, but they have Sincere Parker.
Your Parker, yeah.
Who they got from now Indiana State 2.0.
They got Q and Juice.
They got Q, which is like, I just Syracuse, which we can talk about Syracuse another time, but
you remember when they played Oregon last year?
Yeah,
and we were there. Obviously, not the U.S. Pentagon, but the Sanford Pentagon. It's super. Yes. I mean, he had a big game that day. He's going back to play at that same facility, and they get to play against South Dakota State this time. I don't know. That's a big ad for them.
That's huge. No, they're on paper.
The Southland Conference. They have way too many good players.
Yeah,
Southland is not like that, you know.
Yeah, no, they're probably going to run away with the Southland again. And I mean, yeah, like I said, they won 30 games last year, and they're probably going to be even better. So it just makes you wonder, like, and now am I going to predict an undefeated season or anything? No, there's probably going to be. I mean, look at Kennesaw State last night.
Right.
Haven't won a game, beat an undefeated team. So someone's going to probably beat them. It's just a matter of who. But like literally on paper, they are coming back for. And I think they also just when you look at their seeding, I think they were 12 last year. I think
Yep.
that was um even though they lost, and I think they Gonzaga took care of them pretty handily. Even
Mhm.
the 12, I think, was a little underselling them. I think they could have been on 11 or maybe 10 line because they were that good. Now, I mean,
So
anything can happen in a one game, playoff, but they were a little undersold. So if they make it again, which I'm gonna just predict that either way. And I think they'd be in a situation where even if they lost in the championship or the semifinals, I think they still would get an auto.
I
Or
think
not
so.
an auto, I get a at large, excuse me.
Yep.
But I think even if that were to happen, they should be this year like a 9, 10, 11 seed.
Well, okay, I'm looking at their schedule. Their first 3 games, they got a couple tests. All right, so they got South Dakota State essentially on the road. I mean, you're an hour south of Brookings, but every single Jackrabbit alum lives in Sioux Falls. So they're all going to be at the game. It's going to be a home game,
Yeah.
right? Like that's like Hendo said a couple weeks ago. That's a home game for them essentially, but it goes down as a neutral site, which
Right.
helps because that turns it into a quad one instead of quad two, based on how it works with the NCAA nets. And then they go back home, and this is probably the toughest of the three. College of Biblical Studies.
Wow. Talk about national powerhouse.
And then they go to Alabama. So
Yeah, that's gonna be an awesome game.
I think
That's on
that's gonna be a great
November
game.
11th, right?
It is, yeah. That week,
Yeah.
that month.
That weekend. I think is that the weekend everybody's talking about. There's like a weekend where there's a bunch of just really good ranked matchups.
Just
But yeah,
crazy.
that early on, that's gonna be fire.
Okay. Overreaction time. I mean, is it the secret scrimmages, the scrimmages in general? Like we saw Rutgers and St. John's on national TV. Awesome. High knees ref Jeffrey Anderson is out there getting active again for the first time since the TBT championship. Like,
Yeah.
what do we take from that? Is there anything that we take from it? Because some of these teams have different approaches with coaches are like, I want to see all 15 on the court. Some guys are like, these are my 7. Like, let's go.
Um, I don't think they're not notable. Like I think one result I saw, this is in the Power Five realm. I think Xavier beat Ohio State by like 18, and it was ugly. I think it was like a 60-42, which is like that's notable. Like, that's not just like, oh, you won, like
Yep.
you beat them down. So I don't think I wouldn't call secret scrimmages like a nothing burger. But it is interesting because you gotta, and they're secret, so we don't always see, what were the rotations, who was doing what, like, were they trying to maybe see what the young guys had for an extended stretch? Were they maybe trying to, rely on their starting five and play for long stretches? Like, you don't know exactly, what it looked like. And I'm sure that there's some points in these scrimmages where maybe coaches want to see some situational stuff. I don't know if that counts towards the scores or not. Like, say, well, you know what I mean? Like they
Yeah.
might try to maybe script it a bit in terms of what's going on. But there are some notable results that I saw. Um, Texas Tech 75-66 over Drake.
Well, I want
Drake
to ask you about that because you and Drake don't have the best relationship.
Yeah, Drake and I are at odds.
We're not talking about Drizzy. All right.
Yeah.
This
Oh
is
no, I would never be at
Iowa
odds
Drake.
with Champagne Poppy.
Yeah.
But
Jesus.
my beef my beef with Drake dates back to 2023, specifically in Keenan's living room in Sioux Falls, because I, like most individuals, enjoy dabbling in the realm
Investments.
of investments. And one of those investments for that time of year, if you catch my drift, was Drake. They were playing Miami, and they were up 7 with like
Like,
3 or 4 minutes left, and I don't think they scored a point for the entire game, like the
they had the
entire rest of the game.
classic NCAA tournament scoring drought that you can't
Oh,
just
when
discuss.
tournament time comes around, you already know
Oh,
CBS, that graphic is immediately going up.
yeah,
Like last made field goal,
yeah.
and it just tick, 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 and it's like, oh my god, how is this team? There's like this team hasn't scored in 6 minutes, like. And
Yeah.
sometimes it'll be the team that's winning. Like the team that's winning, they were up 14 or something, and now it's a 4-4 game, and it's like they haven't scored in 6 minutes and 30 seconds and counting.
You're a Duke fan when Butler was in the national championship that first year, and they played against Duke. They had an 8-minute scoring drought second half, and it let Duke right back into the game, and that changed the whole thing.
Yeah, and it's crazy. It makes you. I mean, it happens in the NBA. Like there's teams will go stretches without scoring. I feel like it's definitely a lot less common, but the regularity with which it happens, like you can almost guarantee that in a college game, especially in the tournament, like some teams, or not some teams, like a lot of teams are going to hit that drought. And I always want to ask coaches, what do you say? Like, because it's gotten to a point where you kind of have to expect it. So it's like, how do you prepare for it? How do you prepare for 4 minutes without a bucket, 5, 6 minutes without I mean, sometimes.
I almost think you have to draw up something or just give it to a guy in the middle and be like, go get fouled. Because in the NBA, the reason why it doesn't happen a ton is because they feed the post. And, defenses, it's hard to defend in the NBA. It's conducive to scoring for 120 to 125 games. And it's, you just need to get fouled, get to the stripe. That's how you get points. But the no field goal thing in college, especially in March Madness, man, everybody wants to be the hero.
Yeah, the games get so much tighter.
Threes. You get a 1-point game with 2 seconds left. Everyone's shooting a three. Or 10 seconds. You're going to dribble it out and be like, oh, I'm going to pull it from 28 like Kimba. You're not.
Well, I think that comes down to really coaching, though. Like I think there's a lot of people who have, not that you're one of them, but I think there's a lot of people that have what I would say erroneous take of college basketball is, dribble, pass, chuck up a three. I think college basketball in a lot of ways for a lot of teams is still archaic, or not archaic, but more so still in that old school, like, look, the big man's getting to touch. Like we're playing, you're going to play inside out. There's a lot of teams that do that. Yeah, like the big man is going to get the ball. Now, there are teams that like to play fast and run up and down and shoot a lot of threes. I actually saw that, Alabama in a secret scrimmage. I saw on John Rothstein's page. I didn't see who they played, but they played an exhibition and they shot 63 field goals, and I think 48 or 49 of them were threes.
Oh my God.
So now I don't know how they were getting these threes, but I think what it comes down to is the Boston Celtics, which is what the Boston Celtics have done, which I think a lot of teams are inevitably going to all start trying to do. I mean, the Knicks are trying to do it. They failed at it the other day, but we'll see how that develops. But what a lot of teams are going to try to do, and now that they've seen it at the NBA, it's going to eventually trickle down to college, is if you put 5 3-point shooters all on the floor at once, you're going to get a bunch of open threes. Because when you drive and you have guys that can score and they drive, hey, mom, that's my mom.
Hey, mom.
When you have guys that can all drive and score and get to the bucket, eventually the defense is going to collapse. And as soon as that guy collapses, kick out. And as soon as the rotation happens, extra pass. And then that other guy rotates, extra pass. And you only have so many guys that can run out and make the rotation. Someone's going to be open. So I would rather, I want to see how it was done, but I think a lot of teams are going to start doing that. However, as of right now, there's a lot of teams that play that inside-out style of basketball. Like, I don't think that it's gone anywhere. And that's what I feel like maybe teams get away from in March Madness is, they rely too much on the jumper. I don't know why that happens. Because what do I think I've told you this before, what do I look for in teams that do well in March Madness? Guys that can create a shot. Well, you gotta have a
shot creator. Yeah,
and you gotta have a shot creator. And they're not taking layups. They're making tough jumpers. So I don't know why teams get to that. I feel like, it's.
I mean,
why stop what's working?
Those Butler teams that went back to back, and really the first year team that went to the national championship and lost to Duke had Gordon Hayward, and Howard was the big man in the middle, right? So you had the pieces. You had an NBA caliber guard, and then a big man who, was kind of stiff, but he could hoop a little bit. He made it happen. And then everybody else was just complimentary. But I think there still is a place for those guys in college hoops. I mean, look, Zach Edey was in college for like 10 years. So, there's it's there.
He was a true seam.
Hunter Dickinson is
back. Hunter Dickinson's a guy that you could say 10 years for. That's a 10-year guy. I don't know how.
LinkedIn.com is a great resource.
Indeed.com.
Yeah. So,
but anyway,
the overreaction.
Other secret scrimmages that I saw. San Francisco beat Stanford 80-79 in a secret scrimmage.
I'm not entirely sure. That San Francisco team has been on a good stretch over the last couple of years.
Yeah, they've been really solid the last few years. I think they've had at least in the last 3 seasons, I think they've had at least 2 20-win seasons.
Yeah.
So, they've been impressive. They might have even had 3 in the last 3. They've been a really solid program. Mercer 92-74 over North Florida. VCU, this was shocking. VCU, well, not maybe shocking given the circumstances, but 71-49 over Virginia. And I mean, considering when it happened, I imagine, Tony Bennett was already gone from the program at that point. So, bit of a, not head scratcher, but, kind of maybe, fingers on chin, like what are they going to do over there? How is that going to look over the course of like, could we have a, UVA almost winless ACC season if this is how it's going to look, and they're struggling like that against VCU?
Look, and scoring 49 points in a scrimmage, like that's
not good.
A testament of what's to come, because you got to score. And obviously that was the big issue with Tony Bennett, with the way that he coached. I'm assuming that everything is still in place because he retired a week ago. So it's not anything that's like, you can't just install a new offense.
Like they probably got the same philosophy, the same, rotation, similar rotation at the very least. But the results, if that's going to be the result, I think we could be looking at not many wins in the ACC, I'll say, for UVA. And then the last one that I saw that was notable, which actually involved your boys, USC beat UTSA 84-83. UTSA, one of those, like, I feel like they're so close to maybe actually, like, they're always just like on the fence of like maybe being a good mid-major team, but then they never quite actually do it. But yeah, considering that USC, they are a Power 5 school now, Big Ten school now, that's not a bad result for them. But are you maybe concerned for USC, or maybe interested in what UTSA is cooking?
I'm interested in UTSA because I think the American Conference can be wide open if things work out. It's a deep conference because there's so many teams, right? Wichita State is in the mix there. There's just a bunch of Memphis, obviously, with Penny Hardaway, but that's a team that, they made the tournament 2 times in 6 years. Like, it's just, I think there's a lot of opportunity there, and we've seen Memphis lose at home, and this is a team that probably should win the American. So there are some teams in that conference that could be competitive. UTSA, I don't know. Look, they are.
This is their new coach, Austin Klotch.
Yeah.
First year. So good first impression, I will say, on his behalf.
Right.
But yeah, continue. I'm sorry.
I think, and for the mid-majors, the biggest thing is winning your conference and doing it in March or late February, whichever your conference tournament is. But you have to win your conference tournament to, ensure that you're going to get in. UTSA is not going to be an at-large team. I think that's a reality, right? There's maybe 10 mid-majors that have a legit shot at going out and being an at-large type of team just because of their schedule and everything that goes in with that. But it kind of gets dwindled down to 2 or 3 every single year. And we thought Indiana State was going to do it last year. They didn't. And I think a lot of people were surprised by that, maybe on the periphery. But the way that things shaked out in other conferences, right? North Carolina State going and winning the ACC to get in the tournament, that took another spot away from a team like Indiana State. So there's a lot of luck that needs to go into it. There's a lot of good teams out there, and we've seen them we saw it up close, right? Like you see a really good North Dakota State team in the Summit League title game 2 years ago. And that's a team that legitimately could have done something because they had size. They had two big men. One of them was playing on the outside, and Grant Nelson, who's at Alabama now. And, they had some scorers with ball handlers. And, yeah, it's you don't win it, and you're out. So,
yeah, it's
attrition,
tough
I think, more than anything else in mid-majors because you need to stay healthy and you got to peak at the right time. And that's so difficult to do, right? Like,
there's so much pressure. Like, it's so tough. Yeah. Like, imagine being Indiana State last year where you have this season and it's just like, well, if you don't win your conference tournament, because again, there's, like you said, there's so much that could happen in that conference tournament. I mean, we last year was, I would say, shocky for the most part in like, in the Summit League. South Dakota State came in and took care of business. But when you look at, other conferences, if you don't win the whole thing, like it's like you won not for nothing, but it feels like you won, 24, 25, 26 games for nothing. Like, obviously, it's not like you're a projected national champion, but all you want is the opportunity. All you want is a chance. So it's tough, man. It's cutthroat. It is cutthroat in the mid majors because you're so good, and then if you don't win it all, it's like, well, what did we do this for?
I mean, that Oral Roberts team 2 years ago with Max Asmus, unbelievable team, teetering on the edge of the top 25 in the net and on all these other rankings as well, kind of throughout the season. Had some tough losses in road situations at New Mexico, things like that kind of took them out of it. But those were opportunities to solidify their spot as an at-large team and get really an 11 seed if you win the tournament, probably a 13 or 14 seed if you don't. But they didn't. And all of a sudden they're looking at this slate of games that they have to play in the Summit League. And there was a point, we talked to Johnny Tower last week, where St. Thomas is playing in their first ever Summit League tournament in year 2 of being a Division I team. And they have Oral Roberts on the ropes. And I can tell you, working in the Summit League office, everyone was like, yo, no, we need Oral Roberts. We get a 12 seed, and we have a chance to go to the second round or maybe go to the second weekend if they do another Cinderella type of move.
Right.
But they lose that game in the semifinals, it's over. That's it. NIT, maybe. CBI, right? Like, it's brutal. Especially the way that the NIT is now shaped out, where it's just the next best teams as opposed to those
like the invites or
the conference runner-ups who, because if you win your conference regular season title before and you lost in the conference championship game, then you would go to the NIT automatically. But that has been taken away.
They're doing away with that.
The NCAA taking it over again. Yeah, there's a ton of pressure there. There's nothing you can do about it. But we're still several months away from that. We're still
We got a long way to go. But
I will bring up this one, and the biased side of me enjoyed seeing the score, but the unbiased side, where I'm a fan of a guy on the team, William Kyle III. UCLA lost to San Diego State, and BJ Davis for San Diego State had 28 points in that game. That was at Pauley Pavilion. Secret scrimmage, but, Pauley Pavilion. Like, you go in there and you do that, it's 72-67. So still, not a ton of separation there, but something to keep an eye on.
Yeah, well, I think UCLA is they're in an interesting position because last year was so, like, at the beginning of the year, it was like there were UCLA fans, they wanted I'm blanking on his name. He was the head coach. I don't know why I'm blanking on his name. Mick Cronin, yeah. There were people who were literally like, there were people openly calling for somebody to like go shoot Mick Cronin like on the court, like on the sideline. Like it was crazy.
Right.
And eventually they hit a stride kind of like in that last, we'll say like 65 to like 90% of the season where they looked better and Adam Bona looked really solid, and obviously, he eventually, not now he's in the NBA, but or might have been signed to a two-way. I forget when he got drafted. But still, like, they like didn't they were so raw, like they didn't have an identity. It was just like they were throwing guys out there and playing basketball. So
Yeah.
now that you have kind of, you put that year behind you, you get some transfers, you can kind of find an identity. I think UCLA is gonna be better this year. But San Diego State, though, that's still really, and San Diego State is John Rothstein was at the practice the other day. I was looking at just some of his comments, some of his takeaways, and San Diego State looks like, I mean, last year, was, I mean, it's tough when you're the mid-major that made the national championship and nobody expected it.
Yeah.
And you kind of got waxed, but people respected, what you did. I think San Diego State could be like, just with what their personnel is. I mean, they've got a freshman, Magoon Guath. John Rothstein was saying that he was taking and making confident 3-point shots. Like, and we talk about the positionless basketball and 3-point shooting and how it's evolving even at the college level. And if you've got a 7-footer that's able to hit threes at a consistent clip, that's just something that is so tough for college teams to guard. Because I mean, most 7-footers in college, I would say maybe 85-90% of them, they're plotters. They're guys who, maybe they don't move their feet the best, but they're athletic and they're agile for what it's worth, and they play mostly inside. But if you got a kid that can stretch the floor at 7 feet, and then they got to transfer Jared Coleman Jones from Middle Tennessee, who was really good for Middle Tennessee, so he'll be at San Diego State this year. And then Nick Boyd, he was 9.3 points a game last year, dealing with a foot injury, right? So that'll be something to watch for. He's expected to be healthy to start the season, but into bringing guys back, and then you say BJ Davis averaged less than 2 points a game last year. Yeah. So if that kid's gonna take that leap, 28 at UCLA, it's a scrimmage, but 28 points at UCLA to essentially open up the year.
It's a scrimmage, but we're overreacting because this means that San Diego State is better than the rest of the Big Ten based off of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, all right, here's another stat from that game too. San Diego State only had 13 assists. They had 24 turnovers. So you lose to a team if you're UCLA, and I'm sure this is honestly, it's the best time to do it if you're Mick Cronin, because you're losing to a team where it doesn't count. You'll probably see them later in the year. I don't know what their schedule looks like, but you could see them in the tournament. And they had 24 turnovers. So what are you doing? No points off turnovers, clearly.
Well, I think it makes you, again, that's where you wonder, what were the rotations like? Because, what were the rotations like where, again, respect to BJ Davis, but what were the rotations looking like where a, 1.2 point per game player a season ago scored 28? Like, it just makes you wonder, what was, who was playing when? Was it the guys who were going to finish games in the regular season finishing that game?
I have the box score here if you'd like to.
Yeah. How did the minutes shake?
Yeah. So, I mean,
was Will starting?
He did not start, but he got 22 minutes, which is significant. Most of the starters played 20 to 30 minutes. One guy, Kobe Johnson, played 30 minutes to transfer from USC. 10 points. Sebastian Mack had 20 minutes at 15 points for UCLA. But it was just a lot of sloppy basketball for UCLA, too. I mean, they had 15 turnovers. San Diego State, they played an 8-man rotation. And
so, they must have just been playing. They must have been playing their guys then.
Yeah, 3 guys played 35 minutes, 34 minutes. One guy played 31 minutes, and then another guy played 20, and then the next 3 played 15. So, yeah, it's they were just, I guess, running what they had. UCLA was running 10 men. So, yeah, it's always interesting. And, again, grain of salt, but it helps when you see the box score.
UCLA, So you can see,
21 points off of 24 turnovers.
That seems underwhelming.
It's bad.
That is very underwhelming. 21 off 20. I mean, you should be
get 2 points for a bucket.
Yeah, that you should be at damn near 50. Well, technically, I mean, yeah, with a couple threes, you could be at 50, but like, yeah, you should be close to 50. That is not good. So we won't sound the red alarm, but definitely something to watch as the season goes on. Of course, we focus on the little guys, but UCLA,
San Diego State, they're the top of the mid majors. When you look,
yeah, I was gonna say, do you wanna start talking about these some of these Ken Palm mid-major top 25s?
Yeah, let's take a look through some of them. I'll tell you one that I'm really high on. And okay, Gonzaga. Can we all agree?
I think Gonzaga is. I mean, they're not listed. They're not listed in the Ken Palm mid-major top 25. So I think that there's been a universal mutual understanding of like that's not a mid-major anymore.
Okay, so Vegas always tends to know what's going on with everything. They know too much, and I just looked at the odds. Vegas has St. Mary's as the highest odds, or I guess the lowest odds for a mid-major team to win the national title. Mm-hmm. Do you want to give a guess on what those odds are?
Plus 10,000.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah. Because like usually it'll be like a bunch of maybe Duke will be like, I don't know, let's say plus 700, right? And then
so UConn,
like UNC is plus 900. Like plus 800. Yeah, so like UConn
is plus 900. Kansas, Alabama, and Duke are 1,000.
Right.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting the way it's shaken out this year.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we'll see a mid-major national champion anytime soon, especially with the way that the sport has gone and with rules, with transfers, with NIL and everything. I actually found this pretty interesting. I was reading a Sports Illustrated article, and I don't know who the writer was, but he said that while the NIL era has changed how mid-majors operate off the court, on the court they're still as competitive. And a lot of that was due to him talking about the Mountain West last year, 6 teams in the tournament, the success that they had. I am almost at that point, and I don't know if I'm stepping out a little bit, but the Mountain West doesn't feel like a mid-major conference. You're getting 6 teams into the tournament. You had a team in the national championship game 2 years ago. I think what they're doing, and this was probably happening for years at this point, but and it frustrated me as a USC fan because San Diego State would start to get recruits that USC wanted, that UCLA wanted. And some of these schools are really good, and like Boise State is going to be up for another good year this year too.
Yeah, Boise State's made the tournament, I believe, 3 years in a row.
Yeah,
and last year was they were I think what it is with the Mountain West is I think the Mountain West has just always been solid, but they were one of those conferences where they play each other tough, and like if but they maybe had they just had maybe just 2 schools would stand out on a year-to-year basis, like maybe one year it's and it would typically San Diego State was typically one of them, but it would be like maybe Mexico. 1 year it's San Diego State in New Mexico, then 1 year it's San Diego State in Fresno, then 1 year it's San Diego State in Boise. But now I think what you're seeing is now that the playing field is kind of leveling a little bit because of NIL. Now you're seeing, okay, now it's not just San Diego State and one other team. It's San Diego State, New Mexico, Boise State, Nevada. Nevada's a really good team. Colorado State. Like you're seeing these teams consistently stay good. And, it's good for college basketball because now you're seeing what more teams have to offer. And I think that's great for the viewer and for people who, people love March Madness, seeing more maybe different teams. I think it's just good for the sport. It makes it more fun. It makes it more compelling.
Yeah, I think it is important. But there aren't any other mid-majors out there that have that type of success. I mean, the American is probably maybe next, I guess.
Do we really consider the American? Because, I mean, wasn't UConn in the American a few years ago? And then they went back to the Big East. Like, are we really calling the American a mid-major conference? Houston was in, or actually, are they still? Or no, they're not. Yeah, Houston was in the American. Now. Yeah, they're the Big 12
Houston
now.
Used to be in the American.
But they were in the American. Like,
I think Xavier was in the American at one point. Cincinnati was in the American.
Yeah, like, are we really calling the American? I mean, I know those schools have left, so hypothetically, you could say, oh, well, they're all gone. But like, I mean, it's like to make another college football 25 reference, it's your if your conference prestige. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like a team in the American, like if we had a college basketball 25 game and we were looking at conference prestige, I feel like the American would be like B plus. And that's not middle, that's above average.
That's well above average. Yeah, I agree. And yes, it has changed a lot. And right now, probably Memphis is their lone top dog. I may be forgetting team. Obviously, UTSA is probably going to have a good season. But I I don't know. I know the American made a push back when UCF won the national championship in football to call themselves a Power Six, right? They wanted to be included in that round table of the five conferences, of the power conferences, and that was their big push. But yeah, it's kind of short lived for them on the football side. And um, Tulane had that win in the Cotton Bowl a couple years ago. I forget who they played in that game, and then yeah. So I don't know. I think for hoops it's also different because it fluctuates so much, right? Like
Right. Yeah, yeah.
a lot of
There's
it has
so
to do with
much.
coaches that stay,
Yeah,
and
coaches. Yeah,
stay.
the coaching carousel, because
Yeah,
you could have a coach that does really well, and then that fourth or fifth year they explode. They win 25 plus games. They may have a team that makes the tournament. Maybe they win a tournament game, or they even make the second weekend. And then it's like as soon as that happens, they get poached by Georgia
right.
or maybe Michigan or Texas, whatever. Like they just get poached by these Power Fives, and then it's right back to the drawing board. Speaking of Texas, Memphis, I think, has a chance to have probably the best player in the conference. They got Tyrese Hunter from Texas, so I'm interested to see what his production looks like going from Texas to Memphis. But just taking a look at the top 25, let's look at the top 10 within that top 25, and this is according to Ken Palm. So number one is Dayton, number
Yep.
two is St. Mary's, number three is VCU, number four is Memphis, number five is Boise State, number six is San Diego State, number seven is Grand Canyon, number eight is New Mexico, number nine is Utah State, and number 10 is Nevada. And then just to, we were just talking about the Mountain West, how good they are. Number 11 is Colorado State. So that's one, two, three, four, five, six Mountain West schools, and the six schools that made the tournament last year in that Ken Palm top 25, and that top 25 within the top 10, Colorado State being the 11th team. So you talk about the dominance of the Mountain West, and it shows. I mean, if they've got 6 out of 11 is in the top 11, and that goes to show you just how good they are. And then also begs the question: are they? I guess it does beg the question, like you say, are they really a top or a mid-major? And I would still say yes, because and this will probably never happen. I think until we have a Sweet 16, I'll say, with a majority mid-majors, we can't quite have that discussion. Like we would need a Sweet 16 with like 9 mid-major schools to really quick, because at the end of the day,
That's
it's a lot. But I mean, I'm saying just to say, are some mid-major conferences really mid-majors? Because you got 6 teams that made the tournament. How many of them made the second weekend?
yeah. Well, and if you have some of those tems that are playing in that play-in game or something, you're
right. Yeah, a lot. Again, a lot, because I think
yeah,
didn't San Francisco played somebody? Was it Loyola Chicago? I forget. I think it was somebody. That game was horrible. Remember that first?
I do. Oh my gosh,
that first play-in game last year. That was, I forget who it was, but that was
great podcasting. I'm going to look this up here.
Yeah. Well, I got to see. So we got 2024 first for NCAA tournament. I remember that game was horrific. Oh my goodness.
The Colorado Boise State.
No. That game was actually good.
Colorado State, Virginia.
Yeah, Colorado State, Virginia.
42. And I think Virginia, they went to halftime. They hadn't scored a bucket in like
Since like
game time going into halftime, and they didn't score for another 5 minutes coming out of halftime.
No, I think it was worse. I think it was like 10 minutes, bro.
Because they showed the real time, and it said the last that they had scored 6:50.
Like it's been like a half hour. I think they didn't score a bucket for like in real time, like a legit half hour. Like they hadn't scored a bucket.
And that was in halftime, out of halftime, everything. Yeah.
That was nasty work by Virginia. And maybe that was when Tony Bennett said, oof. he says it was
first NIL seat going in and playing against a Colorado State team that maybe, I don't know. I don't think they had as good of a year last year as they probably could have.
Yeah, and I think they ended up playing Texas, I want to say, and I'm fairly certain Texas won. I'm fairly certain Texas won. I typed in Texas, Colorado State, and I got the score of the football game.
Texas did 56-44.
Yeah, 56-44.
Yeah, that's. I don't know. But
that being said, let's talk about the non-Mountain West, the non-Mountain Westers of this top 10. And number one being Dayton from the A10, who they lost probably one of the best players in that program's history, Darron Holmes. I think he was 22 a game last season, and replacing him is going to be tough. But if there's anyone that can do it, it's them. They bring back a bunch of starters: Nate Santos, Enek Cheeks, and Javon Bennett. So that's 3 of 5 starters they're bringing back. And they're also bringing back their 6-man, Kobe Bray. So I think when you look at, losing Darron Holmes sucks, but they're still bringing back guys. Like Nick Santos, I think he was 11 points a game a year ago. Yeah. He could very easily be that guy to take a leap and go from 11 points to maybe, 17, 18 a game.
They added a couple guys, Posh Alexander, Zed Key, guys who have played in big hoops.
Yeah. So yeah, especially Zed Key coming from Ohio State, like playing at that level and going to Dayton and staying in Ohio, so he'll be familiar with the Ohioan way of living. But Dayton being at number one, I have no problem with that. Are there any? Well, just really quick before we talk more about these teams, any quarrels within the top 25 as a whole? Any teams that you think are missing? I think I know one of them you're going to say, but I don't think it was a snub. But any quarrels that you have? I have one.
What am I going to say?
I think you were just going to show love to SDSU.
No.
Okay.
Here's their issue.
They're a new team, so we got to see.
They're a new team. You have a different ball handler. Like last year, you knew that it was Zeke Mayo. Year 2, incumbent handling the rock. As a distributor, score and all that. They lost everybody, right? They lost him. They lost Matt Mims. They lost Charlie Easley. Luke Apple is playing over in Europe somewhere right now. That's 4 starters that are out. Will Kyle the third, 5 starters.
Technically, I think technically they lost all 5 of their starters.
5 of their starters, and
because at first Kalen Gary was starting, and then he got moved out of the starting lineup.
Yeah, when Matt,
you're gonna have a whole new starting 5.
Yeah. So, as much as I wish I could say, Jackrabbits are snubs, I haven't seen enough yet. We haven't seen any secret scrimmage tape from them of Kalen Gary handling the rock. I just want to know if he's going to be aggressive the way that he needs to be, because there were times last year where he would attack the rack knowing that the defense has to key in on Zeke. So they're going to hedge toward him a little bit to keep him away from that 3-point line. And that's when some of those opportunities would open up. That's a little bit in the weeds right there, but we'll see how it all shapes out here in a couple of weeks. It's so different now too. And I think we can make all these predictions and look at all these analytics and everything. And I think Ken Palm is probably the best one to look at because historically that works. But we haven't seen anything yet. I mean, the only hoops that we've really seen is like, I don't know, St. John's, Rutgers. Like, is that?
Well, I think just looking through the top 25, I feel like the most obvious team missing is McNeese State.
Yeah, that's
McNeese State
true.
did it. I mean, and again, Ken Palm, they do account for program history.
They do.
So prior to last season, McNeese State doesn't have, maybe the best history, but I mean, they're not on this top 25, and I think they're a team that they're a better team than they were a year ago. Hold on, can you hear that train? I'm sorry.
No, I can't. You're good.
Okay, good. Because there's a train going by, and I hear it. The hype train for the Cowboys, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
But McNeese State, and I think McNeese State is probably a top 5 or 6 mid-major team in the country, and they're not even on the top 25 list according to Ken Palm. Again, like you said, we haven't seen anything.
Yeah,
but that was, I think, to me, the most shocking. And also,
you want the odds on McNeese State to win the national title?
Plus 25,000.
Plus 50,000. Dayton is at plus 20,000. So Dayton is the next lowest, other than San Diego State's at plus 12,000. Dayton is the 4th lowest mid-major from Gonzaga to St. Mary's to San Diego State to Dayton. Plus 50,000. So Vegas doesn't have a lot of faith in Will Wade and that team.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't think they'll necessarily be, we could put them in that category yet. However, I will say, McNeese State is going to be one of those teams that, as long as Will Wade is there, I could see Will Wade trying to be, Southeast Mark Few. Like, I'm serious. Take a small school. You think
he'll stay there long term?
I mean, I don't know why more coaches don't. Like, I don't know why more coaches. I mean, respect to them for getting their money. Like, I get why they do, but at the same time, all these universities around the country have so much money. Why not be the next Mark Few? Gonzaga. I mean, who was Gonzaga before Mark Few went on that and Gonzaga went on that run? No. Nobody. But then they make you. All it takes is one run, and now everybody wants to go to you. You have pedigree. You have something to hang your hat on. You've got pictures to put up on the walls in your locker rooms and in your hallways at your facilities. And then you go from being Gonzaga to Gonzaga. And now McNeese State, I think they could be that next team where I think Will Wade, it wouldn't shock me if he tried to be, Southeast Mark Few and just, have a stretch there, stay there for a decade plus. Mark Few's been at Gonzaga since the early 2000s. Shoot, why wouldn't Will Wade stay at McNeese State until, the mid 2030s? Give yourself a chance to build something at maybe lower level school.
Here's the thing about being a coach anywhere that's successful. If you stay there, after you have that run, you are the governor of
you're immortal. You're immortal.
You are the guy, right? Like Oral Roberts baseball, their head coach takes them to the College World Series for the first time ever. I mean, well, I guess second time. But first time in 40 years or whatever it is. They go there. They win a game. They beat TCU. Like everything. Their name is out there. It's awesome. Penn State job is open. He's from Pennsylvania. He could go back, but he's like, why would I leave? I'm in Tulsa. I run things here. Like,
I'm the guy. Yeah, the grass isn't always greener.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because Aaron Johnston, who we're going to get on the show at some point, South Dakota State women's basketball head coach. This is a team that, he just got named to the Coach of the Year watch list, rightfully so, National Coach of the Year. This team, I'm sure, is going to open as receiving votes in the AP poll when that comes out, or a couple weeks into the season once they get that win over Nebraska and whoever else. I'm sure they'll be ranked. He's turned that program into just a powerhouse. And they're on the cusp of being that type of team that's like perennially 9, 10, 8 maybe even less type of seed team, and setting themselves up for hosting some games in the NCAA tournament, maybe. So there's stuff, and he had always talked about, I'm never going to leave unless it's for the Minnesota job. He's from Minnesota. That's the dream job for him. The job came open, and he was like, actually, no, I'm going to stay. Why would you leave? Well, you have everything. It may not work at Minnesota. We've seen it from every Texas football coach between Mac Brown and Sarkisian. Right? Mac Brown had success. Sarkisian's had success. But everybody in between, they left from South Florida, from Houston, from all these other spots to go take that Texas job. And now where are they? They're an assistant coach.
Yeah, there's value in being the king. You know, yeah. I really truly believe that I really want to. I also just want to see it. I want to see Will Wade, especially in Louisiana, where he was at LSU when the whole thing happens, and he gets annexed. So to do it in the state of Louisiana as well, I think that would be poetic justice for him. Why not, stay at McNeese State, make your school a basketball school. Nobody, Gonzaga is a basketball school. UConn, basketball school. Cool. McNeese State can be that. I mean, Memphis, even, another mid-major basketball school. San Diego State, for the most part, is a basketball school.
Yeah.
So why not, be the next basketball school where you are, just you're the king. You can go anywhere in Louisiana and you don't got to pay for it. People are offering to wipe your butt. People are giving you money just for existing. I mean, that I think that
never pay for a drink. I'm sure never pay for is great too. Oh my god.
Yeah. I mean, look, I also did. Recruit at UNC or Duke or Kentucky and Kansas and Michigan State and UConn, but bro, I'm getting dogs at McNeese State, and y'all can't mess with me.
Yeah,
I think that's just more gangster.
True. Well, we'll end it on that. McNeese State. I mean, we'll see.
Snubbed, but we'll see. I expect them. With all due respect to the Jacks, I expect McNeese State, outside of Alabama, to roll instantly to start their season.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean,
if they beat Alabama, what happens? They start 3-0 after beating.
If they beat Alabama, I think we're looking at Will Wade entering Mark Few territory, and then I think you have to consider, it's dude, if I can win here, I don't have to move my family. I can just build an empire here. I think they would really be looking at, and it's possible. I'm interested to see what that line is, what the line will be. It'll probably be something like Bama, minus 12.5 or something.
Because they're at home.
They'll be at home. It'll be packed. But me personally, I think where I'm going to put some schmeckles.
I think so too. Well, I'll tell you, McNeese State, they're going to have to go to Sioux Falls. It doesn't get very cold in McNeese. It's going to be a high of 55 on that day. November 5th.
They play basketball inside.
They do, but you got to walk from the
That's a long walk from the parking lot to the Pentagon.
South Carolina a couple years ago played at the Pentagon against South Dakota State women's hoops, and Don Staley, I saw her get off that bus, and she was like, good Lord, it's cold. It was -10 out, snowing an unbelievable amount, and this team from Columbia, South Carolina had to get off the bus, walk 50 feet inside this arena. You still got to get out.
That 50 feet cooled them off before they had to face the rabbits. Yeah.
All right. Well, good show. We'll do
good show.
Reactions as the season continues. I'm going to overreact quick on the NBA level. Lakers going 82-0. Don't even question it.
That tweet was hilarious, by the way.
Yeah.
That tweet was hilarious. Everyone
criticized the Lakers. Ronnie James, JJ Redick, something is working right. Also, Bronny James, right now, the most bets are on him for Rookie of the Year. So there's always a LA bump. I understand that with gambling, but just think about that.
Flushing money.
Oh, man. All right. Let's get Carmelo's kid to Cuse.
That's coming.
Yeah.
That's coming.
All right. Trust. Cool. Yeah. As always, sponsor the show because
Please,
we like
anyone. We like talking, and we'll talk about your product.
talk about.
We'll literally do cutaways and do like Blue Chew. Where you at? No, I'm kidding. Blue Chew, don't.
Yeah.
Blue Chew, not yet. Somebody else. I don't think our content needs the Blue Chew label right now.
Maybe not. No. I think we need DraftKings or something.
Now we're talking.
Conversation.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, everyone, for watching. We love you.
Bye.